This podcast is produced by St. Paul Public Schools Literacy and Personalized Learning Department at the Office of Teaching and Learning. Welcome to On the Spot Literacy, connecting teachers together to share ideas. I'm Sue Braithwaite. Do you have a question? This is Sue. Today's question comes from Chris.
Hi, Sue. How can I use the reports in FAST to help me plan for instruction?
Thanks, Chris. So today we're going to talk about FAST as a screener first. It's a screener. So being very clear that a screener is like the physical at the doctor's office. It is, you go, you take a few assessments, tests, and then the doctor refers you for further testing if needed. And so what FAST is going to be, it's kind of the thermometer. It's our checkpoint 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring, that will provide us a starting place to help us accelerate student learning. Part of the reports that we'll find will give us a text level, will also show us in the winter if there's been growth between benchmark windows. It's also going to help us identify who can benefit from more conferring in small group instruction, so based off of scores. And when we analyze FAST data in progress monitoring, we will be able to hopefully make some instructional decisions. And then the question I would ask is, are students making progress throughout the year? A year's worth of growth plus catch up? So then we will, in today's segment, we will go through what some of those reports look like, but FAST is also part of a bigger assessment plan. It's, again, like I said, the thermometer. It's also part of what should be happening in the classroom, as we should be doing running records or records on the run. We should see conferring in small group notes and information about what's happening in our actual instruction. Also, are students self-assessing, and are they creating goal setting for themselves to increase student learning? We need students to become part of the process of closing the achievement gap. And then we'll align it with our MCA, kind of as a district and as a school, what kind of information students will be, that we're able to gather from that information. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to log into FAST. For you, it would be spps.org/FAST. This can be done through your iPad on the FAST icon, as well as on the computer. So let's log into spps.org/FAST. And when you log in, you will come to the home screen of FAST. Depending on what your role is, if you are a specialist or a classroom teacher, you'll hover over on the right-hand corner, View As. This will give you the opportunity to pick a school and a grade level if you're a specialist and a teacher. If you are a classroom teacher, it should come up and say your name in the corner. So today we're going to log in as Sarah, and we're going to walk through some of her reports. So across the top of the toolbar, you will notice teacher, training and resources, screening, progress monitoring, and reporting. Just for a frame of reference, screening is where all teachers will have logged in and entered screening scores. Today, our focus is going to be on reporting. So we're going to click on the reporting tab. You will notice that the reports are organized by screening and problem identification, analysis and planning, and intervention and monitoring. So our goal for today is we're going to talk over 2 reports. The group screening report, so if you would want to click on group screening, it's going to list all of the assessments we have available to us. We are going to start with early A reading. We're going to scroll down here. You could have access to grade-wide or to the classroom teacher. So we're going to click on Sarah, fall, and we're going to generate the report. Once I generate the report, it's going to come up with a group screening report that is off of norms. And so the norms are comparative to other people in the nation, or people who are using FAST. It also will tell you the period of time, and then an option to choose demographics and information. So once we've pulled up the report, just a few things to highlight. You can toggle between norms and benchmarks. Benchmarks are for planning for instruction, so we would prefer that people log in and change to the benchmark report. And then once you're in here, you will notice the information with the students, their score. So right here, Catherine doesn't have a score, so she wasn't given the test yet. Then Clint has a double exclamation point, and if you notice at the bottom, that's high risk. Joanna has some risk, then there's low risk information. It also will give us the percentile rank based off of group, school, district, and national. And if you hover over each of the categories, it will give you more information about what that means. You can also change the order in which the scores are displayed. So you can toggle over this top button up here. You also, which I would highly recommend, is going through a guided tour of what FAST looks like, what their reports are, and some of the information. So as a first-time user, I would recommend that. So this is the group screening report. Thinking about what could you do with this report, how could you use this report, and what information are we gathering from here. This is assessments from A reading, so it's 2nd through 8th grade students are given this assessment as part of the screener. The score is a composite score there's an A reading interpretation guide, which I'll show later, but that will tell you where in relation to high risk, some risk, and low risk, and how close to benchmark that they are. So that is report number 1. One thing I'd like to mention is across the top in the knowledge base is the Siri of FAST. Ask any question and you'll get an answer. So please use that as an option. So then what we can do is we can go back into our reports. So if we click back, we can also look at different information. We can print the report. So we are going to scroll back. So then when I hit the back button, so that's group screening report. You can also pull that report up for auto reading, CBM English and Spanish, and early reading. So that will give you, that's kind of our first go-to. What's the overall view of my class and how close are they to the cut score? The next report I'd like to show you is the screening to intervention. If I click on screening and intervention for reading, click on Sarah, generate report. And in this report, we have the option of finding the text level. So when you ask the question, how do I find out what level my students are at? This is the report that you'll want to look at. So again, we are in the screening to intervention report. If I hover over the top, it tells me if the student has given a CBM. This will tell me accuracy, automaticity, broad reading skills. But here's where I can click to the different reading levels to help. So I'm going to click to Fountas and Pinnell. It's going to give me the student levels. I could also do it here. Gives me the student level. It also will tell me what tiered for instruction, so how often should I be progress monitoring my students, and then what is the measure in which that will help my students. So do I need to give a CBM or an A reading, and then what is the goal for the growth that I'm looking for. So this is called a screening to intervention report. If I click back, I have the ability to look at my class list, a detailed skills report, and then finally for today, I would like to hover over individual skills report. I'm going to click on A reading, 2nd grade, and I'm going to generate the report. In here, we're recommending that this report not be sent home for parents. This is a report for planning for instruction for our students. And so this will help us determine, here's Clint, here is his score. Is he college pathway, low risk, some risk, or high risk? His percentile in the nation. And then each of the areas of his assessment, concepts of print, mastered skills, developing skills, future skills. phonological awareness, mastered skills, developing future skills. Again, this should not be used as a checklist, but an overall picture of how a student and what things a teacher might be wanting to focus on. It's also shows the entire class. So if I keep scrolling, it will give me the students in my class and what their mastered skills. It is not differentiated by student. It's by cut score. So on that first group's detailed report, that score is the score next to our interpretation guide that will say anybody with a score of 454, this composites will look the same. Doesn't mean that every student needs the same thing. So today we've talked over 3 different reports. We went through the group screening report, the screening intervention report, and the individual skills report. In future sessions, we'll be talking about the rest of the reports that are available to us. But feel free to dig in, figure it out, try, ask questions. So if you're asking the question, now what? How do we connect this to instruction? So we have a couple of resources to share with you today. We have an A-reading interpretation guide. So if you click on that, based off of the composite score, you'll be able to scroll for each of the different scores. That's one option. We also have a text correlation. So if you're looking at kindergarten through 5th grade, what levels should students be at what time during the year? Here's a guide to help you with that. We also have in the FAST that individual skills report that we shared, and then the Continuum of Literacy Learning if you have that resource. Otherwise, we've linked a couple of options. So matching books with readers, what does a A-level text look like, and what are the behavior, skills, and strategies to teach for every level of the alphabet. We also have another document if you're conferring. It is a list of all of the letters of the alphabet for reading. What are the behaviors to notice and teach at the current level, and what are the behaviors and notice to teach at the next level? And then finally, the independent reading expectations. We also know that in order to increase student achievement and reading proficiency, students need to be reading. And so we've got some guidelines to support how much students should be reading, partner work, and then ways to respond to their thinking. And then finally, many of you have the Reading Strategies book by Jennifer Saravello, another great resources to teach strategies for students. And then in Fountas and Pinnell's guided reading book or Jan Richardson's The Next Steps in Guided Reading it would be to include word work in those sessions. And so those resources would be available to you. So the now what? And as we move forward during the school year, we will spend more time talking about what do we need to do to increase student achievement. Thanks for joining us for On the Spot Literacy. See you next time.